Let us try and understand the structure of the ovum, and we are talking over here about the human ovum. Now, the human ovum has certain important characteristics. You have to understand that the ovum is released at the secondary oocyte stage with one polar body. The later development of the ovum takes place when the entry of the sperm happens, and that triggers the further development of the ovum. A human ovum is alecythal, that is, it is having very less or almost negligible yolk. The reason being, the entire development of the embryo and the fetus takes place inside the body of the female. So, the nutrition is obtained over there. So, the human ovum is alecythal in nature, that is having very less yolk. It is a non-motile structure. That means it cannot move on its own. Although the ovum, when released by the ovary, is picked up by the fimbriae of the oviduct or the fallopian tube and are carried inside the fallopian tube, because the inside of the cells of the fallopian tube are lined with ciliated columnar epithelial cells, and these ciliated cells gradually push the ova from the fimbriae to the infundibulum region and to the ampulla region. Ampulla region is the site where the fertilization happens. If the fertilization does not happen, then it passes through the isthmus into the uterus. Now, the process of the release of ova is known as ovulation. And there is a fixed cycle of this ovulation that we'll be discussing in the later parts. The human ovum is rounded or spherical in nature. So these are the some of the characteristics of the human ovum, that it is released at this secondary oocyte stage having one polar body. It is alecythal, non-motile, rounded structure, and the process of release of ova is known as ovulation, which happens every month. Now, coming to the structure of the ova has three membranes. We'll be discussing the function of each of the membrane in detail over here. The first, the layer that is, or the membrane that we find over here is corona radiata. The second layer is zona pellucida. And third layer over here is the vitiline membrane. So these three layers line, or they are present around the ova. These three membranes. Now let us discuss. The outer layer, which is seen as red over here, these are elongated flame-like cells radially arranged, and this forms the corona radiata. The corona radiata is protective in nature and it is made up of glycoprotein. This layer is actually produced by the follicular cells. So corona radiata is the outermost layer. The second layer which we are talking is the zona pellucida. It is inside towards inside of the corona radiata, and it is produced by the oocyte as well as the follicular cells. It is a thin transparent layer which is jelly-like, and this layer plays an important role because the zona pellucida actually identifies the sperm which is specific to that particular species, allowing the entry. Second important function it performs is that it has certain chemicals that facilitate the acrosomal reaction or the acrosome reaction, because it then enables the sperm to penetrate inside the ovum. Also, at the same time, it prevents polyspermy, that is a condition in which it inhibits or does not allow the entry of more than one sperm to fuse with the egg. So, Zona Pellucida is protective as well as it is performing various other functions. Now, this Zona Pellucida has inside, towards inside, we are moving from outside to the inside. Inside is a vitiline membrane. This is the vitiline membrane, and this vitiline membrane is secreted by the ovum. It is also inner lining and it is thin and transparent. And the main role of the vitiline membrane is that it allows the only certain useful substances to move inside, and that's why it is selectively permeable. So it allows only the diffusion of the water and selected nutrients so as to allow the egg to sustain over there. Now, besides these, the vitiline membrane, inside there is a Periwinkline space. So, as you can see over here, this is the Periwinkline space. Now, this Periwinkline space is filled with periwinkline fluid. It helps actually in the rotation of the egg. Now, coming to the nucleus over here is not present in the center, but it is eccentric, that is present towards one side. So, this nucleus is present within the cytoplasm. Now, the cytoplasm in the case of ovum is known as ooplasm, and it has lot of rich nutrients. You can see over here the first polar body which is present inside and the plasma membrane which is present outside. So, these are the various layers of the ovum that help the ovum to move. Also, they help the ovum to sustain and protect the ovum as well.